Have you ever stopped to wonder, why do some men seem to have so much to give, but choose to offer only crumbs? A good morning after days of silence, a date after weeks of excuses, a tiny gesture of affection after months of coldness. Is that really all he's capable of? Or is there a hidden game behind this behavior? Today, I'm going to reveal the hidden weaknesses of the man who only gives you crumbs, and, most importantly, how you can turn this game in your favor. The man who gives you crumbs doesn't act by accident. He knows exactly what he's doing when he sends a short text after 3 days, when he suddenly shows up just to check if you're still around, or when he offers a tiny gesture of affection and then disappears again. All of this is carefully calculated to keep you in a constant state of waiting. It's like he's holding an invisible rope, pulling and releasing whenever he wants, just to see how much you'll tolerate. This dynamic works just like a slot machine. You never know when you're going to win his attention, and that's exactly why you keep playing. He vanishes, you wait. He comes back with a hey, you light up. This cycle creates an emotional dependence, an invisible addiction called hope. And as long as you're waiting for his next move, the one in control isn't you, it's him. Maybe you've already caught yourself checking your phone every 5 minutes, waiting for a notification that never shows up. Maybe you've gotten fully dressed for a date, only to receive a last-minute excuse. This game is cruel because it manipulates the most sensitive part of any woman, the desire to be chosen, valued, and loved. The crumb giver knows this, and that's exactly where he feels powerful. But here's the twist. This control only works as long as you play the role of the one who waits. The moment you decide to match his energy, the entire game changes. If he takes 3 days to reply, you don't have to answer in 3 minutes. If he shows up once in a while, you don't have to be available every single time. With every act of equality, you strip away the invisible authority he believes he has over you. And when you start behaving this way, something shifts. He feels like he no longer has complete power. He realizes he can't just disappear and come back as if he owned your time and your emotions. And that shakes his insecurity to the core. Because deep down, the crumb giver's biggest fear isn't losing control, it's losing you. And that fear leads us straight into the next hidden weakness. You think you're afraid of losing this man? The truth is, his fear of your disinterest is even greater. The crumb giver thrives on your anxiety and the relief you show when he finally reappears. He disappears, you get restless, and when he returns with that casual, "Hey, stranger," your reaction gives him exactly the confirmation he craves. She's still here. She still cares. That's why he always pops up at the perfect moment, almost like he has an emotional radar. Just when you start to let go, here he comes with a text, an emoji, or some vague invitation. His silence isn't just absence, it's a test. He wants to measure how long you'll hang on without him, how much power he really has over your emotions. Here's the secret. He fears your indifference more than you fear his absence. Indifference is the blow that strikes straight at a man's vanity. The crumb giver needs to believe he still matters, that he still takes up space in your mind, that he's still special to you. When he realizes he no longer has that privilege, the ground shakes beneath his feet. So the strategy is crystal clear: don't show anxiety. If he vanishes, keep living your life. Go out with friends, invest in yourself, take care of your goals. Post pictures smiling, busy, fulfilled. Treat his presence as a bonus, not a necessity. Show, with your actions, that you are whole, with or without him. That silent message is more powerful than any speech. And when you position yourself this way, the game flips. He senses he can't toy with your attention like before. And that's when his fear grows, because the one thing he dreads most is being forgotten, replaced, left behind. And that fear opens the door to another hidden weakness: his fragile ego, disguised as confidence. The crumb giver carries a hidden truth. Behind his confident facade lies an incredibly fragile ego. He doesn't give more because he can't. He withholds because he's terrified that if he gives his all, you'll discover he's not as impressive as he pretends to be. He's like a magician who only shows one trick at a time, afraid that if he reveals the whole act, you'll realize the show isn't that magical after all. That's why he hides behind the bare minimum. dressing it up as extraordinary. A simple "good morning" becomes proof of devotion. A casual date feels like a monumental effort. A cheap gift is presented as if it were a rare treasure. He needs you to overvalue these crumbs, because that illusion keeps his fragile ego afloat. Think about it. How many times have you thanked him excessively for something that, deep down, was just the basic courtesy any partner should show? How many times have you felt moved by a gesture that, if it came from someone else, you would have taken for granted? This is the crumb giver's game, living off the overvaluation of the bare minimum. But you can tear down that illusion. The strategy is simple. Treat the basics as basic. If he replies after days of silence, don't act like he just moved mountains. Acknowledge it as normal. If he finally makes plans, enjoy them, but without fireworks. If he brings flowers, smile politely, but don't put him on a pedestal. The moment you stop inflating his small gestures, he's forced to see that real effort is the only way to earn your admiration. This hits his ego hard, but it's necessary, because the crumb giver cannot stand not being admired for the minimum. And when that privilege is taken away, he's left with a painful realization. There are plenty of men out there offering much more. And that's where his next weakness explodes into view. The terrifying fear of comparison. One of the crumb giver's greatest fears is comparison. He knows his crumbs only seem valuable because you're living inside his bubble. That's why he often tries to isolate you. He may criticize your friends, complain when you go out, or even suggest that all men are the same. His goal is simple: to stop you from realizing that outside of his little bubble, there are men willing to give so much more. It's just like misleading advertising. When you only see one product on the shelf, you assume that's the standard. But the moment you shop around, you discover there's way more quality available. The crumb giver dreads that moment of awakening, because once you see the difference, his crumbs no longer look so special. That's why he might get annoyed when you dress up to go out with your girlfriends, when you receive compliments at work, or when other men show interest in you. Each of those moments is a harsh reminder that his minimal effort pales in comparison to what's possible. So the strategy is clear: expand your life. Go out, keep your friendships alive, invest in your social world. The more you connect with others, male colleagues, friends, acquaintances, the more obvious the gap becomes between someone who gives you almost nothing and someone who's truly ready to invest in you. That natural comparison is what shatters his illusion. And when he realizes you're not isolated, but surrounded by options, his fear skyrockets. Because he knows that once you see your real value, his crumbs lose all their power. And that's when many crumb givers scramble to change the game with promises. But that's where his next hidden weakness shows up: his total inability to sustain something real. If there's one thing the crumb giver has mastered, it's the art of the vague promise. He talks about the future, about trips you'll take, about plans he swears he wants with you, but always in the land of someday, maybe, or we'll see. He's an expert at keeping things undefined, because he knows that as long as you're waiting for later, he doesn't have to take real action right now. This behavior is like selling tickets to a concert that never happens. You buy into the idea, you wait with excitement, but the show never comes. He thrives on this in-between space, where you're hopeful, but never truly satisfied. It's a clever way to keep you hooked without him ever needing to actually deliver. But there's a way to break this cycle. Specific questions. When he says, "We'll travel one day," you ask, "When? Where? Which date are you thinking?" When he says, "I want a future with you," you ask, "How? What are the next steps?" These simple questions act like flashlights, exposing the emptiness behind his words. And the moment you shine that light, the mask slips. Because the crumb giver isn't really afraid of commitment. He's afraid of being exposed. He knows he doesn't have the consistency to back up his promises. And when you demand clarity, he can no longer hide behind the fog of someday. That's the moment you reclaim your power. Because when you stop accepting empty words and start requiring concrete actions, the entire dynamic changes. And the transformation doesn't just affect your relationship with him. It reshapes the way you see yourself. You're no longer the woman who settles for crumbs. You become the woman who demands, and deserves the full feast of love and life. Now tell me, my friend, how long are you going to keep accepting crumbs? How long will you settle for vague words, tiny gestures, and calculated bits of attention? The crumb giver only survives because he finds women willing to accept less. But you weren't born for less. You were born for more, for wholeness, for truth, for love that is real and complete. And I want to hear from you. Which of these hidden weaknesses have you already noticed in a man's behavior? Which strategy are you ready to start using today? Share your story in the comments, because your voice might inspire another woman to finally break free from this cycle. And of course, don't forget, if this video opened your eyes, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on the notification bell, because together, we'll uncover not only how to deal with crumb givers, but how to step into your power as women who will never again accept anything less than what we truly deserve.